Humble yourself and graft. Now, this is a video on pressures that we can choose or choose not to put on ourselves that massively determines our development as people and our overall trajectory in life. Now, at the end of last year, I moved to London on fairly good terms because of a family connection. I was able to experience life in a big city, life on my own, living independently with everything on my doorstep, and coming from a small town in the Cotswolds. This was a drastic change, and a change that gave me a new perspective as to the things I actually know I need to go and do. So, coming back from London, I was left with two options. For the past year or two, I'd been living at home building a business, a SaaS business, and it was doing pretty well, but wasn't at a point where I felt I could move out and sustain myself comfortably. So I was living at home, and I had my parents around to help out. They were cooking dinners, they were aiding in buying the food shop. My washing was mostly done for me, which, at 22, 23, you should really be starting to think about leaving the nest. But I was at this dilemma where I didn't have the financial backing to do so. So I was at a crossroads. I could either continue as normal in this nice, cushy, comfy life where, to be honest, I didn't really need to push myself that hard, or I could humble myself and graft to make it happen. But how do I get sudden financial injection? Well, through a part-time job. And a part-time job is never really going to be that sexy, hence the humble yourself part, because it was in this state of urgency that I was like, fuck it, I'll just take any job I can. And in that, I took the role of a Tesco delivery driver, meaning that my day was gym, work, and then driving. So my shifts were 6 to 10 p.m. So, I had the whole day of, working on my own business, and then I'd be driving in the evenings, come home, have dinner, sleep, repeat. I was doing that 4 nights a week, so it wasn't, every single night, but it was enough that it kind of took over my life. However, as much as it sucked, I'm someone who stays optimistic and tries to be grateful for all the opportunities that fall into place. Now, I would be driving these vans and I would just use the time to listen to podcasts, filling my brain with knowledge, building my identity, and getting myself amped up for the next day to go even harder in business, to motivate myself to keep pushing, and try and see the light at the end of the tunnel. So I actually began to quite enjoy these shifts, because it was basically just a 4-hour downtime where I was getting paid to listen to podcasts. But then when I eventually moved out, because this job gave me that financial backing, it was pretty unfeasible. It was now an hour drive away to get to the store, and for a 4-hour shift, a 2-hour commute is pretty wild there and back. So I did that for maybe a month or two while I was living here, because also I was doing Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, meaning my social life was in the bin. So what was the point of me even being in this city? But it was a stage where I had to go through, and I eventually found a better part-time job that was much more relaxed, that allowed me to just speak to people, and is one I actually quite enjoy. So yeah, I definitely had to humble myself. And even with this retail job that I have now, I still have battles with identity. But these are all things we have to go through to get to the places we want to go. And even my housemate, he works a full 9 to 5. So it's not even like I'm in a position where if I just got a 9 to 5, it'd be easier. He works 9 to 5, and then he also does the Tesco driving on top of that. It's all part of the process to get to where we want to go. Just do everything by any means necessary. Humble yourself and graft. Don't get caught in the trap of comfort. Nothing great ever comes from comfort. So push yourself, do what needs to be done. The pressure is the point.